Right, breaking news coming in latest in the Sheena Bora murder case. Charges have been framed against all three accused, Indrani and Peter Mukerjea and Indrani's ex-husband Sanjeev Khanna. The trial began at 12:30 this afternoon. We have our correspondent Mustafa Sheikh who's with us live from Mumbai. Mustafa, can you take us through some of the charges that have been framed against the three main accused in the Sheena Bora murder case?
Yes, of course, the main charge of murder remains on all the main accused, but Peter Mukerjea has been relieved from the charge of attempting to murder of Mikhail Bora. Indrani Mukerjea and Sanjeev Khanna will face that charge also of attempt to murder of Mikhail Bora. And now, secondly, the most important thing which is going to happen is that they have to make a submission in the court. The accused will say whether guilty or not guilty. Will cut to Vidya. Vidya, what's next going to happen? What has happened in the in session court till now?
Well, the accused were all brought into the witness box. The court had ordered them. All three will now, they were standing in the court, and at that point, all the charges that have been framed against them, the judge explained it to them and asked them to speak to their lawyers, consult their lawyers, and then reply whether they want to plead guilty or not guilty. If they plead guilty, the case rests right here. But if they plead not guilty, then the next step, that is the starting of the trial, will begin against all three.
So that will be the most important thing which will be happening now today, that whether the accused plead guilty or not. Whereas the charges of cheating and poisoning have been also dropped from the case as of now.
All right, Mustafa, stay on with us. We're also being joined by Ujjwal Nikam, public prosecutor, who's with us on the phone line. Mr. Nikam, the trial finally getting underway in the sensational murder case. Charges have been framed.
Yes, the main charge against all of the accused is main charge of criminal conspiracy to commit the murder of Sheena Bora. So since the court found that prima facie there is a material to frame the charge, and therefore the court has framed the charge. Now the beauty of the charge of criminal conspiracy, that all the persons involved in the criminal conspiracy are ultimately can be held liable for the final acts done by the other co-conspirators. So in short, since the court finds that there is evidence of criminal conspiracy against Peter Mukerjea, he can be held liable now in view of the charge of the criminal conspiracy for the murder of Sheena Bora. This is the beauty of the charge of the criminal conspiracy. And therefore, now let us see how the prosecution marshals the evidence, because the main task before the prosecution is to establish the criminal conspiracy. Now prosecution is having the trump card of that approver, that is the driver of that Indrani Mukerjea. Now, approval evidence is, you see, normally the court looks with suspicious. He's a self-confessed traitor. And therefore, the investigating agency will require to adduce corroborative evidence to show that whatever the approver is telling the truth.
Right, and Mr. Nikam, do you also think that those telephone conversations that were actually leaked to the media earlier, do you think they'll also play a crucial part in the CBI's case? The case that the CBI is putting together?
That is one of the strong incriminating circumstances which favors the prosecution. But ultimately, we will require to see how these witnesses will be drilled in the cross-examination. Evidence means evidence is to be tested by the cross-examination. Therefore, prima facie, this is a court motive finding that yes, there is evidence. But this prima facie material is rebuttable. If at all the accused lawyer cross-examine the witness, and if they can point out to the court that these witnesses are not believable, therefore their evidence cannot be acceptable.
Right, and Mr. Nikam, according to you, what are the big challenges that the prosecution will face while fighting this case?
See, prosecution will require to face main two challenges. Firstly, the charge of criminal conspiracy. It is very seldom to have the direct evidence of criminal conspiracy. So naturally, the prosecution will require to rely upon the various circumstances connecting about or leading to a irresistible inference of criminal conspiracy. The second hurdle is that of the approver. Now, approver, you see his statement, I have not gone through his statement, but his statement is not directly throwing any light against Peter Mukerjea. So approver says how Indrani Mukerjea was helped, how that other people were involved in the crime, how did he commit the murder. So prosecution will require to adduce some more material to show that how Peter Mukerjea was also aiding and abetting. Ultimately, it will all depend upon the paper investigation done by the CBI.
And Mr. Nikam, according to you, do you think that Indrani and Peter Mukerjea's lawyers will be able to put up a strong enough defense? And what is the line of argument that you think they're likely to take?
Sorry, madam, I am not their lawyer, or neither I am appearing in this case as an accused lawyer or on behalf of the CBI. But there are the many challenges. It is not prima facie. Once the prosecution succeeds in framing the charge as desired by them or expected by them, then it will require to prove them beyond reasonable doubt. That is the thing.
Right. Mr. Nikam, thanks so much for speaking to India today. That was Public Prosecutor and Senior Advocate Ujjwal Nikam sharing his views on the case. The trial in the Sheena Bora murder case began at about 12:30 this afternoon. The sensational murder case had made headlines last year after it first came to light. Charges have now been framed against the three accused: Indrani Mukerjea, her husband, media baron Peter Mukerjea, and Indrani's first husband, Sanjeev Khanna. We have our correspondents live with us. We have Mustafa Sheikh and Vidya, who are both outside the court, the special CBI court in Mumbai. Mustafa, take us through what transpired in court today, and is the hearing still underway?
Yes, of course, the hearing is still underway at the special CBI court, and H.S. Mahajan is the judge who has pronounced this sections, saying that the 302, which is the main murder charge of Sheena Bora, will remain on all the three accused, which is Indrani Mukerjea, Sanjeev Khanna and Peter Mukerjea. The other important thing which we can highlight at this point of time is that the Peter Mukerjea has not been given the sections of attempt to murder of Mikhail Bora. So that's one section which has been dropped in the name of Peter Mukerjea. That was the argument of Peter Mukerjea's lawyers, saying that there was no evidence in the statement of Shyamvar Rai or Mikhail Bora to prove that Peter Mukerjea was involved in conspiring to kill Mikhail Bora. That's the second part. The third part is that there have been three charges of cheating through forgery and using poisonous substances, which have been dropped from the case altogether. Now what remains to happen is that these accused will discuss with their lawyers, and they'll say whether they plead guilty to these charges or they don't plead guilty. So when they said they don't plead guilty, then there will be the trial which will be starting, as Mr. Ujjwal Nikam was also saying, that the onus will be on CBI to prove all the evidences which has been put forward in the charge sheet. What will be a challenge for them is that they have to prove the charges against Peter Mukerjea. We are joined by Vidya on the grounds whether the accused have been pleaded guilty or not guilty.
They told the court that they were not guilty. They clearly told the court that they did not do anything that they have been charged against, and that is one of the reasons why the court has now said that the trial will now begin from the 1st of February. So until then, the nitty-gritties of getting the witnesses list and all that will be prepared and done so that the trial can really begin from the 1st of February.
What would be the update on Peter Mukerjea, where the charge has been dropped? So how important his role, whether the CBI probably has enough evidence to prove his role in murder of Sheena Bora also?
Well, the CBI has been claiming that they have all the evidence. They have all the evidence of the fact that he was involved in conspiracy. The fact that, there were a number of calls, and the duration of calls during which, it has been bashed up quite a bit. The defense has been saying this is not worth any evidence. But according to the CBI, it was enough to prove the conspiracy, also for the fact that they have a few messages where Peter was dead against the relationship of Sheena and Rahul. He was also the fact that he was the one, along with Indrani, who had gone to the DCP asking him to investigate, and then immediately called up saying Sheena has been found. So the whole lot of things that go into this, and according to the CBI, they do have ample evidence. We'll have to really wait and watch whether they are really able to prove it in the court of law.
Here you go, Avantika. There will be a lot of circumstantial evidence which will be put forward in the court, and now finally, after more than 1.5 years, the trial in this case of the sensational murder case of Sheena Bora will begin on Indrani Mukerjea, Sanjeev Khanna and Peter Mukerjea.
And Mustafa, were the three accused also present in court today? What was their reaction to the charges being framed?
Yes, as far as the reactions of the accused are concerned, they had some discussions with their lawyers when these charges were framed. What really happened between the lawyers and the accused after the charges were framed by the CBI court?
Well, the moment the judge asked all the accused to come inside the court, the witness box, all of them followed. First came Indrani, then Sanjeev Khanna, then Peter. All of them, the trio stood in the witness box. They were listening silently to whatever the judge was saying. He explained it in English as to these are the charges against you, and please consult your lawyers and let us know what it is, whether you plead guilty or not guilty. They immediately got down, followed, immediately spoke to their lawyers. Well, there was a worried look. The fact that, there will be charges against them and the trial will really begin. And certainly with the beginning of the trial, it's not anytime soon that they can really hope to be out, to be relieved from this case. And that's one of the reasons why there is, a whole lot of anxiety written all over their faces. But, you have to look at the fact that now that the trial is ultimately going to begin after more than 1.5 years, it's expected that it will be over soon. They're just hoping for that. And in the meantime, they would hope for bail as well. So certainly anxiety written all over the faces of all the three accused, and they're just hoping that something will come out where they can actually be able to come out of the jail that they have been living in for the last 1.5 years.
So Avantika, the major point remains that they can now, there are more chances of them getting bailed, but as far as the charges are there, they were all expecting that these charges will be framed on them finally, but Peter Mukerjea has not been given the charge of attempt to murder. That's something, some sort of relief which we can consider for him. Back to studio.
And Mustafa, any word on the kind of evidence the CBI has agreed to put on record while filing the charge sheet? The charge sheet had been filed earlier last year.
Yes, of course, Avantika, the most important part of evidence remains that Shamwar Rai, who is the driver for Indrani Mukerjea and Peter Mukerjea, has been made an accused, he has been made a witness in the case, and that's what has given a strong hold on the case for the CBI to prove that Indrani Mukerjea and Sanjeev Khanna were very much involved in the conspiracy, and Indrani was the one who had killed. So these allegations are being substantiated and proven. Further, to strengthen their case, they also have the statement of Mikhail Bora, who has said that there was an attempt to kill him also. So all these things and substantiated by the call records and messages exchange between Indrani Mukerjea and Sheena Bora. Also there have been messages and calls and attempts from Rahul Mukerjea, was also blamed that it was from him, it was hidden from him that Sheena has died, and he was told that she is in America. So yes, the intent and the guilt has been proven in the charge sheet as far as the CBI is concerned, but now all the evidences will be challenged in the court. There will be cross-examination, and we'll have to see whether the statements of the witnesses spread in the court or not.
Right, Mustafa, see me here. I wanted to ask you another question. Those conversations that Rahul had with his father Peter Mukerjea and Indrani Mukerjea that he had actually recorded secretly, that were leaked to the media, have they also been included as evidence by the CBI in the charge sheet?
Yes, Simi, all the evidences, especially the conversations which were recorded by Rahul Mukerjea and in between Peter Mukerjea, has been submitted as evidence. But what remains interesting is that Rahul Mukerjea was saying Vidya that Peter Mukerjea is not involved in the murder case. So how do you see that angle emerging, and whether it will help Peter Mukerjea in coming out of this case?
Rahul is certainly an important witness, and probably this is the reason why the CBI anticipated this fact that he might turn against his very case that they had been building, and he might turn towards his father and say that he is not guilty, and that's one of the reasons why they recorded his statement before the magistrate. In those statements, he very clearly states that his father had kept telling him, his mother, both Indrani and Peter, had been kept saying that Sheena was abroad. They had spoken to Sheena. These are the statements that certainly go against Peter. Though there is an audio evidence to substantiate that audio evidence, they have recorded this magistrate's statement, and that's one of the reasons why this statement, along with that entire statement, will be put forth by the CBI. Apart from the very fact that there are a lot of messages. If you remember, Peter did not like this entire relationship between Indrani, between Rahul as well as Sheena, and that's one of the reasons why he kept saying that there should now be this relation should not really fructify, and they wanted them to break up. He tried all his level best. The fact that property is one angle, but the other fact that the relationship relationship between the two was not liked by either Indrani or Peter is something that the CBI has been harping, and they will put forth all this evidence that they have against all these three accused in the court.
As far as the statement given by Shyamvar is concerned after he turned government witness, so does he points out towards Peter Mukerjea as an accused in the case?
Well, you have to remember one thing, Shyamvar did not know English, not even a single word of it. And most of his evidence that he has is when Indrani is sitting in the car, traveling along with Shyamvar to various locations, and whatever she has spoken in English, she doesn't know. And remember, Indrani and Peter spoke in English, so that's one of the reasons why he doesn't really know much about what's Peter's involvement.
Yes, Simi, so these all evidences will be gone through the court while the trial is taking place, and then it will be decided whether the strong case can be made against Peter Mukerjea or not.
All right, Mustafa and Vidya, thanks so much for bringing us up to speed with the developments in court. We're being told that all the three accused have pleaded not guilty. We're going to keep coming back to you for more developments.